Lori, Mary Ann.
Okay, approve. When Dwayne's notes come in, I've got to make sure I record before his note taking starts, or else I won't be able to record. So that's how this works these days. Anyway, good morning. Good Friday, you guys. Great Friday.
Yeah, it is.
Anybody have any announcements they want to make right away? Rick, anything? Okay. What's on your minds? Hopefully it's Unit 2.
I prepared Unit 2 for last week, so.
Oh, well, then you're doubling up on it. And Mr. Rodriguez is clean shaven.
Boy,
Wow.
Wow. You must have had a radio show and you didn't want people to see you all scruffy.
It was some sort of a show, but it was great to kind of let it go for a little while. Good morning, everyone. Just
Good
happy
morning.
to be here again.
good
And yeah, I was just having a little fun yesterday.
Good. Okay, so real quick, I had my grandchildren down here, 3 of them. I showed a picture earlier, but one of my grandchildren, my grandchild, Michael, threw many tantrums.
We are aware of only about 20% of that action. 80% of the brain's work is happening in the background,
Who's that?
like keeping our bodies functioning.
Somebody doing
It's
this?
a little bit like driving your car. You know the engine and drivetrain are making you move. You don't see every little piece actually doing the work. Our mind is moving us along.
Not me.
We aren't actually aware of the neurons firing in the different parts of our brain.
Can you guys?
It's a phantom.
The creative visual we can
Out of
refer
our
to.
video, yeah.
Let's
I thought that was you, John.
the
Our
conscious,
video.
the perceiver, which interacts with the world around us, using our senses of sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch.
Mary Ann did it. Mary Ann did it.
Server, which stores our personal history,
It's not even the right unit.
attached to them. And the creative subconscious, the
This
regulator,
is good, you guys.
which monitors and regulates our behaviors and actions to make sure that we act normal for us. We won't find these levels of the mind in any specific part of the brain.
This is incredible.
We won't see them defined as a specific territory on any brain scan.
How'd you do that?
It
No,
was you, Jack.
it was, I think my, yeah, never mind. Yeah, probably was me. I'll take ownership of it, but we're back. Anyway, my grandkids. Michael threw a temper tantrum multiple times. And so I had a discussion with him. And first off, any of you, what would you do if you have a child and they throw a temper tantrum, you know, the kind that you see in the grocery store or it's just ridiculous, out of control anger, right? And resentment and frustration. And what do? How do you calm that situation? Because I need the help first and foremost.
I can tell you what to do, John.
Okay.
This is Miranda, so I'm not a child psychologist, of course, but I actually took a class in this when my child was young from a gal who I watched handle it perfectly. And I said, teach me how to do that. And so my child was probably 3 at the time, so temper tantrum, zone. And they say, like the birth to 3, those are like your dry run for the teenage years, because they're going to repeat the same behavior in the teenage years. And so anyway, I've taught this to other parents because I was so grateful that woman taught it to me. So you just don't make eye contact with them. You don't give them any reward for their behavior. And my son still, he's like, Mom, that impacted me so much because, they're going to throw temper tantrums as part of their development, but you just turn away and you look away. So it depends on if you're out in public or not. But if you're out in public, you take them to the restroom and you stay there, and they're going to throw their fit and probably roll around on the floor, which is disgusting, but whatever. So then you just don't look at them. You don't give them attention, right? As you know, attention is the reward. And so you just look away. And then I would cross my arms like this, and my voice would get real low. If you're in my office ever and you're being treated, if my voice gets real low, that's when like it's going to get serious. So I would just look away and say, "Are you done?"
Interesting.
Just like that. And he would, you know, they'll amp it up. They'll level up, right? I've done this with adults. And you just say, "Are you done?" You know, and then when they're done, you say, "Okay, great." And you just ignore it and you move on.
Yep.
And then you can look at them and interact with them, but it works like a charm. And I've used it with a lot of kids in my office too. So that's my,
I will tell
What's
you
the
though,
timing?
when you're being
How long?
punished. Oh, sorry, Dale.
I was gonna say, how long though? So you ignore them right away. How long does it take?
Not long.
well, they'll do it maybe once or twice. And then if they don't get any feedback, they'll stop.
Thank you.
So the reward, go ahead, Dana, you were gonna say
I was
something.
gonna say the flip side is you don't want to be getting punished and turn around and look at your mother and go, "Are you done now?" Because that's one way to really piss her off. I used to do that as a kid.
Whoa. So if there's any other advice on that?
When my kids were young and would do that, I would just say, "Let me know when you're done. Let me know when you're finished." And then I would do something else. And I didn't even ask when they would come to me. I wouldn't even say, "Are you done?" I would take that as you are done. And so we're going to continue on doing whatever we were doing.
Okay, good. I'm gonna use them all. But
Well, you know, John, I am glad that I wish I had y'all as my parents. I would have got a whipping.
that was,
Because I only did that one time. And after that one time, I never thought about doing that the second time.
yeah, I kind
It
of,
only takes a
I
couple
know
of
that's not. I
times.
know that's not something that everybody likes, but that was a reality to me. I tried that one time, but if that's not within your way of doing stuff, don't try that because it'll come across fake,
yeah.
and you might wind up in jail for assault.
Yeah, and unfortunately, with the cell phones that children have these days, they all have CPS on speed dial. So, but Juan, what were you gonna say?
Well, the other wonderful thing that works really nice on top of what Miranda was saying is if you start singing and whistling and just, you know, away, like you're happy, like his or her emotion is not bothering you at all, they're going to question that. It's like, why my tantrum is not having any effect, but you are deliberately doing something else that is making you happy. So they, in their own mind, they're going to question it, although they maybe keep on throwing the tantrum and everything. They're getting into this cognitive thing because it's like, I got to get attention, but it's doing the opposite. I mean, I'm not affecting any emotion on my grandpa or my mother or anybody else.
Yeah, that's really
But
good.
it's not just a reaction, but it's a counter reaction that it's like, you know, I don't know, just happy, but something that they really need to see that is not affecting you at all.
Interesting. So here was my advice to my grandson. I told him every time something like that happens, you have a choice. You have a choice to respond in a tantrum, which makes you and everyone else around you miserable. And if that's what you want, you can go ahead and respond in a tantrum. And I promise you, you will get misery and everybody around you will feel miserable. Or you can choose to be happy, in which that too is contagious and everybody around you will be happy. Which would you choose? Anger or happiness? That's what and apparently he chose anger a lot. So,
I think you better go to Miranda's method.
hey, listen, that's why I asked for the advice. But here's my question for you. What do you do now as an adult for your tantrum?
Yeah, that's such a loaded question because I'm sitting here thinking, what do you do if somebody throws a tantrum who's running for president of the United States?
Exactly.
Great question, but
Yeah.
seriously, what do you do? That's the real question. This is about your beliefs and why you have them and what you're drawing to yourself because of that belief, right? That's what this unit's about. And I'm curious, as adults, what is your form of tantrum? I know what mine is. Mine's probably very similar to Michael's. I just don't roll on the floor. But my tongue is that way. So go ahead.
I've learned to throw them around key people that know how to talk me down. Josh at work and my brother. You know, if it's something I'm really feeling emotional about and not using my training and just began to want to blow up, as we say in the Army, hit someone in the top of the head and not the lower part of their body immobile. I'll have a conversation with Josh or my brother, and they'll be able to talk me off the ledge. But I pick my spots to have my tantrum.
And do you know what it looks like? It's like some people just will give you a cold shoulder. That's your tantrum, right? And it may last a week. Do you know what yours is? Nobody wants to admit.
First of all, I don't choose to climb every hill anymore. I don't choose to fight every battle anymore. And that means that I don't get in that emotional state very often at all. The second thing is I have a tendency to get in that emotional state with a particular loved one and really nobody else. And when I get there, I have a very slow burn. And then when the flame ignites, I use my tongue. And that's not good. Not good.
Thank you, though, Lori. Thank you for being honest and open. Yeah. Anybody else?
I can share mine.
Yeah.
Mine, I actually just shut down. Like, I used to be a very confrontational person, and I think I still am, but I think over time now I've realized that like when something's bothering me, I just completely shut off and I don't talk and I just honestly kind of avoid the situation. And I usually will go on a walk or I'll go play soccer or something to just distract myself, which is probably not healthy because then I feel like I'm not dealing with it, but that's my tantrum.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Steve, your box lit up. I don't know that if you were thinking really loud, Papa John. Oh, he froze. That's why. Okay. Any others?
I think I get frustrated at somebody else throwing a temper tantrum and shutting down. Because I'm like, let's talk about it. Let's find out what's going on. And they completely shut down. And it's the complete silence treatment for a day or two. And so it's very frustrating to deal with that with somebody. And so I used to just be happy and cheerful and try to go on and bring them back out of it. And I'm like, okay, fine, you want to shut down? I'll go somewhere else. And so I go hang out with friends, I go to the gym, I go walk, I do, I really don't have many temper tantrums, to be honest. I mean, I'm sitting here going, do I really have temper tantrums? And I think because the way somebody else shuts down, I honestly don't. I could be wrong. I'll have to dwell on that one and journal on it.
Dana, this is Miranda again. I don't know if it helps you, but it really helps me because I get to hook people's brains up, to sensors, so I get to watch what they're doing. So I've actually seen people have temper tantrums in real time, but it honestly, like, it's not always a choice. Some brains, like Autumn, when she's saying now she shuts down, she used to be more, it's like your brain adapts to a certain way. And sometimes you put up a wall and sometimes you do just shut down. And and I've seen people go through the exact same circumstance and have completely different reactions to it. And some of it is just like, I don't know, I want to say it's default or something like that. So
Interesting.
sometimes that person, when they shut down, they're not able to engage, obviously.
After 36 years, I've gotten used to it.
Mr. Rodriguez, go ahead.
So a little gender question here, a psychological gender question. Most men that I've seen that I've talked to have a tendency, especially within the confidential circle or the familiar circle, which is family and work, more than anything else. And men have the tendency more than women to shut down. And women, from what I've seen, and this is why it's sort of a question, from what I've seen, obviously have this predisposition, seems natural, to talk about it. And that is sometimes for men, it's like, that is the last thing I want to do. I don't want to talk about it. It's like a John Gray's book, men are from Mars and women are from Venus. I just want to go into the way at the end of the cave and dwell on my own kind of ruminate my own emotions in my own way. And then when I'm ready, I'll come and talk about it. But it's like women, they need to talk about it. Men don't need to talk about it.
That's interesting. That's probably because we're yelling all the time until somebody yells back and then we shut down. I'm just kidding. Anyway, competition, tough competition. Yeah, okay, so here's the breakout question for you, and I'm going to kind of move into that quickly, which is, oh, by the way, do you think your beliefs are like magnets? Before we go into breakout, do you think your beliefs are like magnets and they
Yes.
actually draw everything towards you that you actually are believing?
Yeah, definitely, John and team. I know that. I'd like to tell a story about Miranda. Miranda, you don't know this. Yesterday, this time, my wife had a temper tantrum, and I did too. And it involved you. My wife was talking to one of her friends. I was just back there listening. So she said, "Oh, Miranda, she's a psychiatrist, and she'll be glad to help. I got to call her up." So I said, "Miranda," I said, "we love Miranda. She's good. She's not a psychiatrist." And well, it doesn't make any difference whether she's a psychiatrist. I know that she can help my friend and help me, and that's none of your business. So she had her temper tantrum about I chose to correct her. I said, "Well, Faye, that's foolish. You don't tell people somebody's something is a skill that they're not." And so I thought about you today, and then I thought about tantrums, and it was a temper tantrum, a little bit with me and a little bit with her yesterday. See, now we didn't go back to it again to resolve, but she had her mind made up about that. You got that, Miranda? So what should I have said? Should I have just minded my business and let her say what she wanted? Give me some coaching.
No, you were right, Ed. You were right. Sorry. I'll tell her something different if she talks to me, but
Yeah, I can sit here, but I was just saying, Faye, well, no, that's not the issue. I said, well, that is the issue. If you tell somebody something and they have a psychiatrist is a medical doctor, you see, and there's a difference. And I said, Miranda's very helpful. She does a great work, but she's not a psychiatrist. No, you just, that wasn't the subject. Well, I said it was when you told that person that.
I think you're.
But thank you. But I'm good. That's enough.
Ed, you're forgiven.
Okay, please. Well, I hope my wife forgives me.
I'm going to put my slideshow back up here just for a quick second, and then we'll share that. By the way, there's the munchkins out on the paddleboard. So this is what I wanted to show you. I just thought this was interesting because Wildy Coyote's he's an interesting guy. He attracts to himself all the things that are going to kill him. And I just think that's interesting. But here's the breakout question. I think there is one here. Please be here. Oh, shoot. Well, the breakout questions is Steve Papachon already knows it, which is one belief. Before you think about this, but remember we did a breakout, our wheel, our focus wheel? I want you to come up with and discuss one belief that you have that you would like to change. And what would you like to change it to and why? Okay? One belief you have that you'd like to change, what you would like to change it to, and why. And it could be a phobia. You know, it could be. Doesn't necessarily need to be, but so you got it? One belief, hopefully in the area of your focus wheel. And some people are focusing on retirement right now, but we won't talk about that loudly. Anyway, one belief that you'd like to change, what would you like to change it to, and why? Okay? And breakout rooms will be created now. And we'll put so there'll be 4 to 5 in a breakout room, and I believe we'll find out the time. We're going to give 15 minutes for this. Is that okay? Okay. Options.
What do you do if we say no?
I listen to what you say, and if you told me 1 minute's good enough, I would put it at 1 minute. Okay, here we go. Rooms are open. Okay.
From Carolyn?
I'm actually in Albany, Oregon right now, working to help out some people. So Thursdays and Fridays, I'm drive out here.
Awesome. Awesome. Hello, Johnny.
Hello, Rick.
Okay. John, you here to participate or observe?
I'll do either, but I'm going to let you do what you always do when you're in breakout rooms, which is help take charge.
No problem. Autumn, you're next on Sports Call here. Okay, Autumn, what's yours? Have you thought about it? One belief you'd like to change?
Yeah, mine has to do with my health. I don't know if you guys know, we talked about it in the very first meeting, but I have MS. That's actually why I'm in this group. Or one of my main reasons why I'm here is I'm hoping that I can gain some tools to help me with my MS. And I think a belief that I want to change is that my MS is going to affect me in my life and it's going to hinder my motor skills. My MS is mainly in my eyes, so I kind of have this underlying like phobia that I'm going to become blind or partially blind, and I want to change that. I don't want to think like that. Because I know that, whatever you can make yourself sick, you can make yourself healthy with how you think. So I guess that would be just thinking of my MS more as a way that my brain is still going to work and it's not going to affect me in the way that I think it's going to affect me. It's going to make me stronger as a person, both mentally and physically.
Wow. I could drop the mic one right there. We don't need any more examples out of this. That's very powerful, and thank you for sharing that, Autumn. It's a wonderful, glad to have you part of our group to help you with those beliefs. So thank you for sharing that. Michael, how about you, Michael?
Well, mine is very real. I have a knee replacement surgery scheduled for Tuesday. I'm actually at my brother's house. I just left my pre-op meeting and stopped here to make sure I wasn't on the road for this call. But my biggest concern was that the knee replacement was going to make me age even more. And fortunately, I talked to enough people on the trip, John back from then, that were on the train that had knee replacements of various ages. And they survived it and thrived after the fact. And meeting with my surgical team today and realizing that I'll be up and walking within 2 hours post surgery helped me to become less anxious over it. So I'm trying to change my fears I had over the aftermath of a knee replacement.
Well, Michael, from an experienced knee replacement patient here, I'm 17 years now with my knee replaced, and I've never been happier and healthier. And you're going to do just fine. And it's a great operation. It brings your life back to you. You won't have pain. Obviously, everybody's told you already. Do the physical therapy. It's hard. It's tough, man. You got to break that lactic acid, and it's painful. But you do that work now in the next couple of weeks, and you'll have a great recovery, Michael. It's really simple. I play golf. You know, I'm walking. I get on the treadmill. I'm on the elliptical machine a couple of days a week, and 17, 18 years now. So you're
And
going to do just fine.
did you play? And you were playing basketball
Awesome.
after the surgery, weren't you?
No, not after. No. I played basketball up till 57 years old. And then I
Okay.
had to have the knee replaced, and then I switched to golf. But you know, I'll be 76 this year, Michael. So I'm still physically active. The knee's great. You know, I don't think there's any other issues. But you've done some prehab too, right? You've done a little prehab work. Getting
To the
yourself
point
ready.
that I've lost 10 pounds after coming to
Perfect.
Den last week with all the walking with John and Carolyn. Uh,
Perfect.
I was 256 today.
Perfect. Okay, man. That's awesome.
Good
That's
for
great.
you.
Well, that's the right way to handle it, man. All right. Yeah, Autumn. Go ahead, Autumn.
Michael, I just had ACL, basically knee replacement surgery. ACL and meniscus surgery. So I'm 2 months, today is exactly 2 months post my surgery. I just had physical therapy this morning and I'm doing great. You're gonna do great. Just stretching is so important. Stretching the other muscles. The atrophy is going to be crazy a little bit, but it's okay. It comes back. You're gonna do great.
That's awesome.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'll tell you
Brandon,
what. Just
yeah, go.
before, to your point, Autumn, I learned a long time ago now because of back going out, stuff like that, that stretching is the most important thing that any human being can do, and it's the easiest thing to do, and most people don't do it.
Great.
So it's so
Great.
crazy.
It really is. I've been trying to tell my family this. I'd be like, okay, family, come in. We're gonna have a stretching circle. But they do not like it as much.
No, it's crazy. So easy.
Carolyn, you're next. Carolyn, what's one belief you have you'd like to change, and why?
Since we got 10 minutes, I'm gonna keep it to a light one, not one that I really want to talk about. Um,
Okay.
my beliefs around being able to buy a house in Bend or Bend surrounding areas. My belief system says that as a single woman making less than $100,000, you can't afford to buy something there because the programs are designed for people who make under $40,000 a year that has, programs that you can get in. And anybody that makes over that with a family of one and a cat, it's not something that's obtainable. And it tends to frustrate me because I work there, I pay my taxes, I give good work to the community. You do all these things and you're like, it's not there. So I'd like to change the way I think because I've seen my RAS activated to the point that things fall out the sky for me and that I want to be able to be a homeowner again. So that is why. That's the short version.
Carolyn, you came to the right place. Okay.
I hear you.
You can't hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You came to the right place. Obviously, you know that I've been a practitioner, a teacher in the real estate industry for, let's just call it at least 50 years. Okay. And let me ask you this first question. Have you worked with a really good realtor who knows their stuff? Have you sat down with a realtor and say, hey, here's what, somebody who's really good at it, say, here's what I want to do. And let me tell you, there aren't too many. I mean, there are realtors who will sit with you and say, okay, let's get it down. Let's figure it out. Let's get a range. Let's get a neighborhood. Let's get in a plan. Let's get an approach. And there are so many advantages to programs to buying your homes in the world today. The counties and the state and the federal government are overwhelming with money and opportunities to buy homes, particularly first houses. So I know you're saying between the 40 and the 100, but I'll just leave it at this. Have you talked to a good realtor about your condition? And have they done some due diligence to kind of work with you on what would work for you?
They, the lady that I work with, she sold a couple of properties for my pay. I do hospices for is my line of work, and a lot of times my patients have to sell their property to go live in assisted living. So she's done a couple of the properties for my patients. That's how we met, and she gave me a real estate person. The lady is nice. She's downtown. I mean, mortgage person. She's nice. She's downtown. I met with her a couple of times. We went over some things and crunched some numbers. But I just
Well,
feel like,
okay. Let's do this. We'll do this offline. Okay. Yeah, I'll be glad to sit down and go over with you some ideas because you got to get zeroed in on what you can afford, and then you zero in on a neighborhood, and then you zero in on trying to find a house in that neighborhood. And I can walk you through those steps. So, Carolyn, if you want to, I'll put my phone number in here. If you want to give me a call after the call, or sometime this week or whenever you're available, and I'll just see.
okay.
So there you are. Okay, and I'll give you some ideas. And
Okay.
we'll get you into a house. Don't worry, you'll be in a house. We'll get you into a house.
And he'll probably get you one in Maryland where he lives.
So, I didn't say where I get you out, but we'll get you a house. So it won't be a van down by the river. Okay, we'll get you a house. Okay. But you start with changing your belief right now, which is what we're talking about. Is you got to believe that there is a way for you to do it. We're going to just find the way. That's my way of approaching problems. Is I know there's no solution here now, but there is an answer. There is a way to do this. We're going to figure it out. We haven't seen it yet, but we're going to figure it out, right?
Right.
Okay, Johnny, you're next.
My focus my focus area is outreach, and my limited belief is that I just have not been. My outreach has been too limited. My outreach is too limited, is the belief, and I know that what it would be if it were a big, hairy, audacious goal, and I saw it done, is that 8 million graduates are aggressively trying to get in contact with myself and this community, right? They're aggressively trying to get rid of, and so that's the belief I want to hold, and why? For multiple reasons, certainly first and foremost for the betterment of the world, and then secondly, and as important to me is for financial gain, so that I can do the things that Molly and I want to do for our family, and so I know what it needs to be, but what is persistent for me, Rick, is that it's the methods that I've used up till now have been ineffectual at outreach. So
that's a belief, and now you're going to change that belief to, no, there's plenty of people. There's thousands of people, and I need to find a way to get there. So that's probably not a bad topic for our goat call one day.
Yeah, I agree.
How do we get to more people? And with the 25 people we usually have, I'm sure we could find some new paths.
Really good. And and I heard it loud and clear when Jessica Martin came on the call, right? Because Jessica said that her specialty, here's our 21-year-old, right? And her specialty is social media. And she wanted to help with the podcast, right? That I've got in the can, so to speak. But and so Rick, you're right on. Amongst the goats, we have the answer. How about you? Limited belief.
Probably, that I don't have enough time to write my book. I've been playing around with writing a book for a while, and obviously I've got this project with this real estate development I'm working on, and I got the Hall of Fame coming up in September, so I've got to chair that event again. I got a lot going on, so I basically got to carve out the time to start, quote, writing my book, putting some memoirs together, and so that's I kind of keep thinking, well, when I get this done, when I get that done, and when I get this done, and then it's a year, and then it's another year. So I'm going to work on that. I'm working on that. I take little notes. I keep a little file. I've got probably 30, 35 stories that I already know I want to tell. And, so I've got a general outline, but I haven't really taken the time to put it down and get it really going.
What would it feel like if your book were done?
Well, it'd be wonderful. It's really more of a memoir for my family, my kids, grandkids, etc. But I think there'll be some messages in it that will help people go through, be resilient in life, and all the things that I've been able to go through and use. So it would be fun. I mean, I'd enjoy it. That I'd have it sitting on the shelf for future generations. I don't expect to sell the book or do anything financially with it. It'll just be a nice compilation of a pretty cool lifetime. So,
if you, I'd add. Go ahead. Oh,
No, you have 2 seconds.
add pictures to the book so that you can show them to your grandkids now.
Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, we
Yeah.
got 59 seconds. We're good.
Okay.
Great papers. Yep.
Yeah, because Rick, part of what you would almost, as I was considering legacy, is right now I have the opportunity to talk to my family, and a book would actually be a replacement of me, in some manner. And if I could use the book and it had photographs in it, then I could walk them through the book. It'd be a teaching aid rather than a replacement.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good heads up. Yep.
Anything else? We got 20 seconds. We got so much time.
John, could you put your number back up there again quickly?
Oh, that was mine. Rick. That was Rick.
I'm sorry, Rick.
Yeah. It's still up there.
It'll be in the chat room.
Still in the chat room. Just hit the chat room.
Hit chat, and then it'll take you, and you'll see.
I think so.
This meeting is being recorded.
So, by the way, Carolyn, chat room, where are you? There you are. Chat room. If you just hit that chat button there on your right-hand side of your screen, you should be able to scroll down and get Rick's phone number. Okay. How'd that go, you guys? By the way, how'd it go, Miranda? Talk to me. Oh, on mute, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, it went good. I don't know if we came up with anything like hugely deeply profound, but we all had some, well, Ebo doesn't have an idea of a thought that he'd like to change, but the others in our group had thoughts that we wanted to change.
Okay. Well, let's go first, group first. Dale, Dana, Don, Juan, and Steve, Papa John. Who's got the mantle?
I think Steve. Or was it?
Okay, Steve.
Because I think he's the one that spoke the least. And I mean, so I think, Steve, it's your turn. We want to hear you.
You got to come off of mute, Steve. I know you don't want to, but.
Yeah. So, sorry about that. Actually, we did have profound conversations and talked about beliefs, and some deeply held beliefs, some starting from childhood, and we talked about the challenge of changing the deeply held beliefs. We talked about the fact that we have a process where we can change beliefs, but I think as who was it? Miranda was just talking about changing thoughts. Thoughts are easy to change. Beliefs are harder to change because thoughts accumulate to create beliefs. So those thoughts, how do how do we take control of those thoughts? And we talked about that. I made a reflection, and that was pretty similar to Dana in terms of things that we learned as children. Those original thoughts that come into your, that are placed in your mind, not so much by your doing, but by happenstance, by your environment. And Juan was talking about, did a great job in talking about a process of how to manipulate those beliefs, because beliefs are cumbersome, because they contain so many thoughts and repeated thoughts. That's why affirmations work. So we talked about that, and we talked about the fact that there is, regardless of what you believe, there is more beyond our existence. There is more beyond what we think. There's many people would say there's a higher power. When you put it in that kind of perspective, then it starts to become more manageable, because it doesn't, in many cases, doesn't matter where those beliefs came from or what other people thought or gave you thoughts that accumulated into those beliefs. It's what you believe now. And I may not have been real accurate on your dissertation one, but you did a great job. But that was our discussion.
Thanks, Steve. Don, Steele,
Yeah.
anything to add? This is your world. You do this every day.
Yeah. I look for the affirmation beneath the affirmation, sometimes. And one of the things that I think about is the larger affirmation that was made with Dana.
Dana.
Yeah, Dana. It was affirmations really don't work. That was kind of what I was hearing a little bit, because I make these affirmations about that, but it's still with me. So there was a book out a long time ago called No Child Had to Have a Happy Childhood, because you can relive your childhood as an adult. And you can look at being spanked, for example, as not negative as an adult, because it prevented you from doing some things that would cause you harm. And, but some of the beliefs that we need to change are the ones that we really don't even believe affirmations will work. We don't think prayer will work. We don't think anything will work, so that's such a strong basal feeling that until you get beyond that, you're pushing the ball up the hill like Sisyphus,
Yeah. Really good. Thank you, Don. Appreciate that very much. In fact, I think we need to contend with this, with that notion, as people who reject kind of this whole body of information that we give to them. It's so filled with hope, but if you're so demoralized in the first place, can you even sip from that cup? It's very interesting. Okay, room 2 was Ed, Lori, Marianne, and Raul. Somebody take charge.
Raul, I saw you taking notes.
Oh boy, that is a good lead in, Lori.
Hey, Lori. Now, Lori, you facilitated that and was working that. Why don't you just do that? Okay.
Watch that ball go back across the
No,
room.
that's what Lori did a great job facilitating and bringing things out. You're the best one to do it, Lori. Go ahead.
Marianne started by sharing some beliefs that she has about her work, and she gave a perfect example of how that informs her behavior and why she wants to change that belief and what that can do for herself and her organization. Raul started talking about retirement and concern for what that looks like, whether or not he's emotionally and mentally ready. And we talked about in that kind of a situation, there is power in affirmations, and yet sometimes we don't even know where to start with writing them. And so he asked what a couple of mine were. And then Ed talked about there are some beliefs that each of us hold that are so sacred to us, we don't want to share them. And we can work on them, but we're not going to talk about them now or possibly ever. And that's an okay thing.
Yeah, that's great. By the way, if
I'd
you
like to add something to John.
if you don't have one of those beliefs that is sacred that you aren't telling anybody, you're probably lying to yourself. You know.
Yep. I want to say something, add something to that too. Because one of our grandsons just came in here while we were talking. He's doing work upstairs. I keep him busy and I give him a couple of dollars, but they need to know that my son last David said, Dad, I used to say to them, I got a great opportunity for you today. Okay? And it was work. But here's what I want to deal with. And I said this, I said, one of my senior mentors said, uh, 30 years ago, he was in a group of just hundreds of people. Is there anything that you wanted to do and you believe that you could do that you didn't get done? Without exception, everybody said they got it done because they believed they could do it and they wanted to. And he talked about the power of belief and just make it up your mind you're going to get it done. So belief is so important. Then my counselor the other day pulled out my notes. We dealt with belief the other day, and Dr. Kanios, I've invited him to come here, but he was saying beliefs are things of the past. And then he said, go to Genesis 15 with Abraham, and he said, I believe God, and things happen. And he used that, and he reprimanded me because I didn't have it in my notes and I didn't remember it, but I remember it now, the power of belief. But I'm giving this as a healthy feedback that people did with me indirectly, and I should have known they were doing it. I remember the lady when I was in the ninth grade said, Ed, you talk very well. Miss Curtis, I about cried. She said, you talk very well. I was calling to get her to bake some cakes, and she encouraged me. And I haven't shut down since talking to people about things, but she told me in my belief level that I could communicate and work with people. But here's what I'm saying as a suggestion if you're not doing it. We have 10 grandchildren. Every time I'm with them, I make sure I say something encouraging to them. I find out what they believe. I'm already planting seeds in their minds for that because I know what people heard when they were little. That was the belief in the past. Some of it helped, some of it hurt. But I deliberately every day and I'm going to be with another one, 3 of them today. But I'm going to say something that's going to help them believe that they're great people, they're leaders, a couple of athletes, some of them are gymnasts, some of them like to dance, they sing. So I'm just saying, take the time and plant some seeds in the minds of your grandbabies, probably in the mind of your spouse too, and other people that you're around. Be an encourager, because that's a very important thing. That's from my heart today. I was in the T-Mobile store and they did a good job. I didn't have a cell phone for 18 days. I've never been in my life. I really didn't have one functioning. But we had a little situation. We got it all straightened out. And I wanted to write a critique. Well, she put it on my phone, but I lost it on my phone. But I drove back to the store and had her pull it up again for me. And I said, every day I seek to encourage somebody, and I want to encourage you as a team. That's why I came back so I could send a critique to that team. So
Thank you. And
let's not. Thank you. I share that from my heart.
by the way, to all of us who understand the Pygmalion effect, we are sculpting pictures for people all the time. And but the pictures, if they're not clear enough, they don't make a take. And so, we'll get into that later. But room 3 was Autumn and Rick, Michael Biggs, Carolyn, and myself. So, Rick, would you do the honors?
Sure. I'd like to tag on to what Ed said real quick. I had my granddaughter last weekend, and she's a straight A student on scholarship, Division I lacrosse player, but she needs new goals. So I gave her 2 words she'd never heard before: Rhodes Scholar. She said, Dad, what's that? Grandpa, what's that? I said, well, you look into it. You got 4 more years to figure it out. But, you got to, as you said, Ed, you got to put the thought in there or else they don't even know what to, strive for. So anyhow, our group, we had 5 very distinct and very specific and very good beliefs that people want to change. Our group had changes in the area of, can I buy a house? Can I replace my knee and be comfortably healthy afterwards? Can I get through MS? Can I outreach to hundreds, if not millions of people? And then can I get my book done? So those are the 5 different beliefs we had. The first one was Carolyn on her belief about her ability to buy a house in Bend, Oregon. And we're working on some steps for her to evaluate, change that belief, right, Carolyn?
Right.
And then Michael's going through knee replacement surgery this week. So we got Michael's belief strong that he's going to recover very healthily, having talked to a experienced knee replacement patient. And Autumn, as many of you may know, has MS and is dealing with that in her life and how she goes about her beliefs every day about what she can do and how she's really focusing on that strong belief that she's going to be fine. John is outreach, his beliefs, he wants to get to 1 billion people. Maybe he'll start with 1 million, maybe he'll start with 100,000, but how does John outreach? And he's going to improve his social media presence now. So he's working on those beliefs. And then mine is the belief about getting my book done, that I've got too many things in the way, too much time, too much projects, and I got to keep working on that belief to finally put that to fruition. So we had some pretty clear, very determined, and very important beliefs to work on in our group.
Thank you, Rick. Nice job. Any additions, Autumn, that he missed?
No, but actually I did want to say something that I didn't get to say in our little breakout room. I think it's important that these new beliefs that we're trying to shift our mind, when we're trying to shift our mindset, that we make them as important or if not more important than what our previous belief was. And that's something that's really hard that I've been struggling with because there's so many just specific to mine. There's so many things out there, different symptoms, different things people develop with MS. And so it's hard for me to override those with positive ones. It's extremely hard. But I know that I need to, and I have to make it more important so that way the old belief is gone. Because if not, and it still lingers in the back of my head, it's going to mess me up for the future. So I think that like the one takeaway is like make the new belief more important than your old one.
That's really good. Thank you. By the way, you'll meet before long Dr. Vlad, and Dr. Vlad will give you feedback that you probably don't get from any other doctor. And when you do meet him, Autumn, you'll realize that you can lock on to what doctors are saying around you, and they're just not necessarily the best doctors, right? And so, but when you hear Dr. Vlad, he could give you the same diagnosis with as much hope as there is diagnosis,
Yeah.
which is different. Okay, last group was Miranda, Henry, and Ibra, excuse me. I almost made it all day without mispronouncing your name. Almost. Who's going to take control for you guys?
I'll just take control for me.
Okay.
And I have a belief, and thank you for this unit, because the challenge, John, of the question caused me to dive into something. But I have a belief that if I walk every other day, it's easier for my life. I didn't say better, I said easier, okay? And I want to change that belief to walking every day with that's easy in my life. And I got all the intellectual on that and all the benefits, but that belief's been holding me back. And I didn't see that till today.
Good. And Henry, you know, as we all know, and you don't have to go into this at all, but I just to point out to the whole group, is it's really not just changing the belief, it's changing the belief, it's why you're changing the belief. Why are you going to a day? Because if the why doesn't have the right motivation to it, then we'll continue behaving the way we've always behaved. And certainly, you know, when it's autumn, there's a huge why, because I don't want because I choose to have my body gain strength every day, not lose strength every day, you know, type of thing. Anyway, anybody else from that group? Let's see, who else? Oh, Miranda, for crying out loud. You're in that group. This is where we get wisdom. Come on.
Oh gosh, no, thank you. No, it was great. And one of the things that helped me the most, what we were discussing was Evo looked up the actual definition of belief. And Evo, can you restate that? It like you looked it up in Webster's. It's a belief or a state of mind.
A state or habit of mind, a state or habit of mind in which trust or confidence is placed in some person or thing, something that is accepted, considered to be true, or held as an opinion, something believed.
True.
And to piggyback on what Miranda is bringing up, as I'm listening, and maybe I'm dealing with semantics. What's the difference between setting a goal or dealing with a belief? Or am I just wordsmithing? Because in our group, I said, I'm pretty comfortable with my beliefs. I don't have a belief I want to change.
Okay.
And I could be in a bigot in that. But at the same time, there are goals I want to strive for that may change based on life scenarios or based on viewing something. I view it as a goal, not a belief change.
I would like to jump in on that, Ibra.
Either one will work.
Okay. You set a target, a goal, then you look at your beliefs. And a first question would be, do I have any beliefs that are limiting me from moving to attain that goal? So there's that separation. The examining the beliefs is like examining your toolkit. What's going to help me get there? What's going to prevent me from getting there? Stick with the ones that are going to help, and then break out those limiting beliefs and either change them or give up the goal.
I also have a question. John, may I ask the question of somebody, please?
Go.
If we got the group. I see Vanessa there. I didn't see her here earlier. But I know I remember some of the things she said that ties into belief and faith and everything. Vanessa, what did you say on all of this? Because you've talked about belief and you talked about your sisters and all of the different things that you did. I'd like to hear your perspective.
Well, it kind of made me sad that Dale, you said we'd give up the goal because of our limiting beliefs. And that actually makes me sad to even think about that, right? Because I truly believe in terms of my belief is I always call on the will of God, because even though we have plans and we have goals, I always say, God, is this your will for me? And so with my sisters and I, we pray every Friday morning. We pray this morning. Every Friday, I have 6 sisters. We get on a Zoom and we pray. And I actually sometimes will play for them clips from TPI. And I played one of the videos from Unit 3 for them today, because it's part of our prayer journey now. Is because I want them to get into a growth mindset. You know, God doesn't want us to be at a fixed mindset. He wants us to be in a growth mindset, because what's a fixed mindset? It's actually negative, and it comes to me, in my Christian perspective, from the enemy. You know what I mean? God wants us to be the best version of ourselves, not to stay stagnant. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's how I look at this. Is
Yes,
I got it
it
on the tail end
Thank
of
you.
this. Sorry, you guys.
No, that's
Thank you, Vanessa. That was very helpful. Thank you.
I want to go back to what Dale was saying, though, which is, I think, really wise and important. So I don't want to gloss over it. Which is, um, we necessarily, in order to move into the new, there's something preventing us from going to the new, whatever our goal is. I think that's what you were saying, Dale, right? There's something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it already have materialized. And so there's something in our belief system, there's something in what we affirm, there's something in our self-talk that is in opposition to the goal that we want but don't currently have. And until you examine those, and so the real question is, there's a lot of people who don't want to change because they don't set goals. Right? I mean, but once you, by definition, once you set a goal, you need to change.
That's so true.
And so it's so strange that a lot of people don't want to change. So what's the best way not to change? Don't set any goals. And you will never be disappointed, only with your life. So go ahead, Juan. I know you were going to say something. Mr. Rodriguez.
I don't know how many of the people in this group know Brian Goodell. But this is the thing. We're together with a few professional soccer teams in Mexico. And one of the things that he always was sharing, and this was about 12 years ago, but it's as vivid, the words, almost word per word, what he said. And I think it relates to this topic so much. I wrote this phrase: beliefs are not even real, but the results are. That's the problem. And the other thing is this, based on Carl Jung and Brian Goodell: don't believe, know. And the reason why I think don't believe, know is huge, because when you really know that you are whoever you say you are, not believe, but you know who you are, the new person, your self-talk changes automatically, your emotion changes automatically, your behavior changes automatically, and your results change automatically. When we go into this other thing that when we were doing our group discussion, Don was saying about avoidance. The thing is this: when Carl Jung said, you know what, I do not believe in God, I know there is God. Because when you go into the idea of belief, then you have to wrestle with that belief with the juxtaposition of what the other thing is. So the whole idea is, instead of going into that subconscious sort of wrestle with a belief, it's like you go into the certainty, into the knowing, and everything really, really, really changes. And that is why, and I'm not religious at all. I will be, I think, perhaps the least person that can relate to religion in this group, from what I've heard. But I love Hebrews 11:1 that says, faith is the sure expectancy of the unforeseen things. Something in those regards, some sort of paraphrasing. But it's the real evidence inside for us. The real evidence for us. It's like we don't have to believe. We already have the evidence inside of us. So whether we do that visualization, affirmations, or what have you, it's having the certainty in our brain. It just changes everything. I mean, Brian Goodell, very last thing, when he said that before he was able to win in Montreal the 6 or 4 gold medals, the first competition that he got into, he was competing against the most iconic swimmer, Spitz, I think it was his name. I do not recall his first name, but last name Spitz.
Mark Spitz.
Okay, him. He says that when he was like 16, 17, and he was competing with an iconic, so he says, I got into the challenge believing that I could win. And I believed and I visualized and I just really finished the thing and I was able to beat him. But with that belief system, I switched it into knowing because when he showed the video, it says his back was all bruised and he was all painful and everything. He said, when I switched that, instead of believing into knowing that I was going to win the following competitions, the flow of the energy in my body changed. The effort, it just took a different way of behaving. Everything changed. Ironically, I was able to feel, even on the last gold medal that I was able to get, way, way better and less tired than the first competition. But because one minor thing, instead of believing, I went into the knowing part. And when you get into that realm in your emotional and psychological aspect, you have no idea how everything, I mean, every neuron in your brain really gets affected. Totally different.
Juan, you are genius. Go ahead, Rick.
Let's just say that's the ultimate self-efficacy. That's really what we're talking about.
Yeah. Yep. And additionally, Rick, I mean, those of us who spent a lot of time around Lou, maybe too much time, would know that Lou would have the conversation. And I'm so glad you brought that up, Juan, which is knowledge versus a belief. And he'd say, knowledge is I've experienced it myself, and belief is somebody sees for me.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that, Rick?
Yeah.
And I'm just glad you brought it up because you put it right where it needs to be put in this section. And it's, Autumn, it's a knowing that your body is fully healthy. It's not a belief that it can be or that you know, it's not a belief, it's knowing you're healthy. Despite what everybody else is telling around you. Now, you've got to, you know, there's certain things we've got to do to maintain that level of health, but it's healthy. I know it.
Yeah.
Boy, that's powerful, Juan. Thank you very, very much. I'm going to turn off the recording on that note.